Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here, and it's that time of the month again. And no, I don't mean that time of the month. Get your heads out of the gutter. It's time for the Sword and Shield tier changes. This is for December, as it's now December 1st. We're going off of the last part of November for these. DLC 2 is still relatively fresh, so there's a lot of changes. This time around, it's not Aryu that got shafted, but NU got a whole plethora of crazy options. I never thought I would see today where Pokemon like Celebi, Roserade, hell, even Talonflame and Sylveon, let alone some others, see NU, but here we are. However, we're not going to start with that. We're going to start with the other tiers that are above NU, the OUs, UUs, and RUs of the world. So first and foremost, let's go through the rises in those tiers. From UU to OU, we see three Pokemon. Hippowdon, which is there, it's a durable ground type. It's able to wall things like Regieleki, of course, but also it serves a nice role defensively, being a good physical stop to some of the more strong attackers, as well as a potentially decent special wall with some investment, being able to check things like Heatran too. It gets Stealth Rocks as well, and a decent number of utility moves. Slack Off for recovery, Whirlwind to face things out, run Toxic or Ice Fang, depending on what you want, and so on and so forth. It's not an amazing pick in the metagame, but it's certainly one that deserves some usage, so I could see why it rose. We also have Hydreigon. Hydreigon compounded a number of roles. It's a good check to Heatran and Spectra for one. It also gives a Dark type, which in general is just super valuable, even outside of checking Spectra right now, in my opinion. But also, on top of that, it has access to Defog, a lot of coverage. It could even run a Nasty Plot set, even if the Defog set is probably what ultimately put it over the hump here. And I think all in all, Hydreigon is definitely an OU Pokemon, so it's not shocking. And next up, we see Tapu Lele, which really never should have been UU to begin with. The Choice Spec set is an absolute monster, and even Choice Scarf sets can really pummel hyper-offensive teams, cutting off their lifeline of revenge killing, oftentimes in the form of priority, and just 2-killing everything, and offensive steel types aren't most durable checks to it, so yeah. All in all, those are three unsurprising Pokemon to rise from UU to OU. I kind of thought there would be more than just three, though, so that in itself is a surprise. I thought the number would be more like 5 or 6, so definitely still some really strong Pokemon in UU. Some of them, of course, gotten banned, like Volcarona, I believe, did recently, so that's good. In fact, I do believe Volcarona should be OU by usage, despite the prevalence of Tapu Fini and Heatran. It's just that good, but this is not my video to sell you guys on Volcarona. This is not a Moth propaganda video. If you guys are interested in a Moth propaganda video, though, definitely let me know in the comments. That might be something that could pique some interest. But with that said, another Pokemon that rose to OU, which may be the biggest surprise of all of the rises, is Slowking Galar. My bad, I misspoke. Slowking Galar actually does a really good job with the Assault Vest set. It's quite threatening to Pokemon on both the offense and offensive teams. Sludge Bomb plus Future Sight plus Scalder Hydro Pump with Flamethrower. You can even run Psychic over Future Sight if you wish. It doesn't get teleport like the other Future Sighters, but it checks a ton of Pokemon that a lot of things aren't capable of checking. It checks Choice Specs Magearna, it checks Quiver-Dance Pheromosa. It's even able to live hits from super effective special attackers like Heatran's Earth Power or Hydreigon's Shark Pulse, or even Ghost moves from Spectra, so long as it's not boosted a ton. And that's pretty crazy. It has respectable special bulk. It's even able to run plus special attack, or at least special attack EVs, which let the damage up be pretty great. I would advise checking out the games between Starmaster and John W. for Smogon Tour playoffs. Slowking Galar was doing a great job. It really just kind of picked apart his team and just regenerated, let it wall things repeatedly like Pheromosa. Other times you'll see it wall things like Magearna, rather. Yeah, Magearna is a big one. And so on and so forth. It's just a really convenient Pokemon right now. It's able to check a number of things, and that's cool. Hard to switch into the combination of moves it throws out as well, which goes a long way. As for UU, it actually gained a couple Pokemon that initially exited the tier during the mass exodus of last tier shift, which kind of shafted RU. And those Pokemon that it gained are going to be Lycanroc Dusk, a Pokemon that previously was banned from UU, so you're showing the power creep that Pokemon was dropped to RU. That's DLC 2 doing, that, but it's good that it's back home, and it'll be interesting to see how it fares. It's also there alongside Dracology, which has been a long-time competitor to it in UU this generation, both Pokemon being strong, physically oriented rock types, Lycanroc being a bit stronger with its stab and also having a bit more speed, but also being much more fragile and having to rely a lot more on its ability, whereas Tracheon kind of, it can tank a hit here and there, and also it's got the dual stab, which helps a bit defensively in some situations. I think that Lycanroc Dusk is still better, though, due to the sheer strength of Tough Claw's boosted attacks and the coverage it has. However, Tracheon has a bit more of a natural progression as a breaker against bulky teams that can get in easier, and I definitely think that both of them will continue to have a niche in the metagame as it stands. Nidoqueen is also a great option right now in UU. It's able to soak up Toxic Spikes, resist Fairy, and also deal a ton of damage while also potentially giving some offensive utility by setting the field with Stealth Rock or Toxic Spike of its own. And with Nidoking soaring to OUV usage last time around and just staying there, it's no surprise that Nidoqueen will be in the next best tier. We also have Alolan Ninetales, which is there mainly for Aurora and Hail teams, and Hail Off Hyper Offense team in particular, and Tangrowth, which is a nice Rocky Helmet defensive pivot. I wasn't surprised that it rose. Tangrowth is a really bulky Pokemon on the physical side. You could even run a Assault Vest set, although I don't know which one it's running more in UU right now, but definitely can check a number of Pokemon, like the aforementioned Rock types with the physically defensive Rocky Helmet set, so that goes a long way. As for RU, it unfortunately didn't gain a ton. It gained Ditto from the depths of PU, which is due to the fact that Ditto has been used to kind of be one form of counterplay towards the plethora of broken Pokemon that RU saw drop in its face last time around. And Ditto is kind of one way of compressing some revenge-killing offensive roles, which makes a lot of sense. In addition to that, there's also Torkoal, as Sun teams, of course, rose up in the chaotic RU tier. Why not? I mean, just a little bit of everything for you in that little mess. In addition, NU actually had Galvantula rise from PUBL to NU. Honestly, I don't think Galvantula is particularly good. It could be used as a Sticky Webber or a special attacker, but it's quite fragile, and Sticky Webs aren't the best archetype in the tier right now, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it fall back to PU. Same goes for Golbat. It arguably rose because Crobat went up, and the people wanted kind of immediate change, immediate fix to that, but it doesn't fill the same role. It definitely still is viable, though, as a more defensive-oriented Defogger with Eviolite, but taking Stealth Rock and also not matching up well versus every single Stealth Rocker in the tier, and also being susceptible to knockoff, it definitely leaves it with some flaws. Flaws that, yeah, admittedly it did have last generation when it was still pretty damn good in the metagame, but flaws nonetheless, and I don't know if it'll be there to stay or not. And the last Pokemon that rose up is going to be Trevenant from ZU to PU. It really should have been PU the whole time. It was a very strong attacker, in particular a Choice Band set with Grass plus Ghost and potentially Earthquake or Drain Punch, things like Drampa that were able to be immune to those. Went such a long way in the tier, and it was a very strong option because of that. So there are a handful of rises, maybe a dozen give or take, but drops, everything dropped. We have some absolutely crazy, bizarre, out of this world drops that we have to look into here. Oh my goodness. I know this is what you clicked the video for, so if you made it through the first 7 minutes of this video, then I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Let's get into the drops. From OU to UU, we see the exodus of two fighting types, arguably in the shadow of Urshifu, in the shadow of Pheromosa, in the shadow perhaps even of Urshifu Rapid, not to mention some other potential fighting type options in the metagame. Unfortunately, Blaziken, a Pokemon that was previously Uber over the last couple of generations, not only did it get released and was fine in OU, but it's UU now, which is absolutely crazy. Do I think Blaziken's good enough to be OU? Yes, absolutely. Blaziken, in my eyes, is still a very viable OU option, but it's crazy that ladder usage doesn't reflect that. It's not even good enough to hit, the 4 so on percent, and I mean, it's going to be really telling of what people think of Blaziken in the tier and how it never really caught on yet. And it's very far from Uber if it's UU as it stands right now, so it'll be interesting to see if that changes or if we see more of the same moving forward. And speaking of fighting types that came in with lofty expectations but definitely did not quite meet them, Zapdos Galar, a Pokemon that recently has been ranked in the middle of the B ranks in the viability rankings, which I'm going to be posting a video on tomorrow, by the way. This is actually just a special night video because I came home from work, I saw these tier changes, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited, I got to record, I got to get this video up tonight. I don't normally upload during nights because it's a little unfortunate for Europeans because y'all might have to wait until you wake up to see it, but nah, this is a night video. This is worthy of the occasion, needless to say. But Zapdos Galar, a Pokemon that with Defiant is able to take advantage of Defog, and also is a good dual stab with flying plus fighting. Definitely got the shitty end of the stick. It doesn't get Roost. It's really locked into more of a Choice Banded role, and a lot of things you're able to pivot around it, check it, and the bulk up sets just never really came to fruition. The agility set, it just wasn't great. Thunderous Kick didn't live up to the hype, and therefore Zapdos G just isn't quite as great as people imagined. It's viable, it's more fringe than anything else, but it's viable. It's just not superb in the metagame as it stands, and that alone is quite unfortunate. You kind of wish it played out differently from pure design standpoint, because I thought Zapdos and Moltres and Articuno getting new designs would be cool, but none of them have really lived up to my personal expectations, and maybe that's for another video, though. I'm not going to go off on that tangent right now. However, I will go off on some of the new Pokemon that we just saw released with DLC 2. Unfortunately, didn't gain traction in OU, so they fell to UU, but then they didn't even gain traction in UU either, falling from UU to RU a little bit after the initial wave of Pokemon that fell, which I find to be pretty funny. So they hung on a little bit, and then ultimately they just fell off, and they didn't gain traction in either metagame, and that's just unfortunate. I thought last year would have the bulk and strength to hang on in UU, but not quite. It fell down to RU, where I think it's going to be a very strong option. Keep in mind, this thing has sky-high attack and absolutely superb defenses. It's much bulkier than things, for example, like Mew, which are seen as, well-rounded defensive presences overall. So that lets it run more offensive sets. It's a coverage. It's just the main issue with it is that not only is it mono ice typing, so it's locked in running boots all the time, but also it's ridiculously slow, and that's quite unfortunate. As for Regidrago, it's a Pokemon that really can't touch fairy types besides just exploding into them. And in a metagame where fairy types are prevalent, I'm a lot less surprised by it dropping. It's always been more meme tier than anything else in my eyes, especially in OU. I didn't get quite much of a chance to use it in underused, but I still am kind of obligated to say that I'm not surprised. It's a cool, fun option. Dragon Energy with max special attack and the ability, it's super nuclear strong, don't get me wrong, but fairy types are too prevalent, and despite it perhaps mandating one on each team in the tier that it resides in, it definitely isn't something that's remotely, fearful if you're using one of them. And the lack of coverage is unfortunately what's going to doom Regidrago, which otherwise is a very cool concept design and has a good stat spread with the super high HP and the balanced offensive attacks as well, with not being super slow, just slightly on the slower side, so it's passable. But yeah, no, speaking of dragon types that fell a little bit, we see Kingdra and Charantrum fall from RU all the way to NUBL, which really isn't that much, actually. I don't know why I said all the way, quite frankly, just to NUBL is what I should have said. They've already been banned from the never used tier, and while they would reside in that tier due to usage, unfortunately, they're both banned there, so yeah, they've already deemed to be too much for the metagame. I don't know if they're going to be retested eventually or immediately. I'm not quite sure yet as to speaking about this. I haven't quite consulted with the NU Council, which I'm a member of. This metagame so hectic is kind of hitting us from all angles right now, and that's just crazy. I mean, you see, I'm scrolling down. The graphic keeps going and going and going. You're like, oh my god, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows of NU Pokemon. Like, that's a whole tier that is just... NU is just a whole tier of new Pokemon now. That's what it is. As, unfortunately, the phone's ringing in the background. I gotta pause for a second. My bad about that, guys. My dad's just getting home from work, so he's calling the house just to we're gonna leave for dinner, it seems. But that is not my problem right now. My problem is what the hell is gonna happen to NU? Look at all these Pokemon. I mean, we're talking like a whole row of extremely good, like lower tier quality Pokemon. I mean, here, let's go through, for example, the row starting with Lucario. Like, Lucario, it's been an OU Pokemon for a couple generations in Gen 4 and even Gen 5, although it definitely fell off. And then it was kind of a strong Pokemon in UU, or, really strong Pokemon in UU with Z-moves last generation. It was clearly, like, something, like, legit. Like, Machamp, OU in Gen 4, even viable in OU in Gen 3, and very good in OU in Gen 2, by the way. And eventually, yeah, its OU viability dwindled come Gen 5 and so on and so forth, but it became a lower tier staple. It was very good in lower tiers. In fact, there was a point when it even got banned in RU. Mantine, a Pokemon that's been all over the place. Yes, it's seen low lows like NU before, but also just a couple months ago, it was seen as, an A- B+ tier Pokemon in OU, which is crazy. Manchow, a Pokemon that's kind of seen some fringe OU usage in 5 and 6, but mostly has been more of a UU Pokemon. Now falling all the way to NU, completely skipping that RU stuff. It's crazy. I mean, Milotic, a Pokemon, again, OU for generations, and then it still was good in UU, and eventually the queen of RU for a while. Noivern, a Pokemon that's been really good in UU this generation, and not to mention been strong in RU. Obstagoon, a Pokemon that was clearly an OU option for months and months this generation, almost star even. I mean, not much of an OU presence ever, besides maybe like some stints in Black-White when Swift Swim was allowed, but still, it's been prevalent in, let's say, DPP UU or RU over a couple of generations, and just seeing this whole row of Pokemon suddenly just falling to NU, I mean, you could not have seen this coming into this generation, especially with the limited number of Pokemon. Like, you'd think that Pokemon that are maybe like fringe RU last generation with last Pokemon would, maybe UU maybe, or OU maybe, but no, NU, and I guess we'll go through them one by one. Abomasnow, it's going to be good with Hail. I'm potentially setting up Veil. I just rhymed, but it might take a backseat to Oris. Netrala, as I can't set up rocks, but it's still a nice mixed attacker. I think it's going to be kind of overwhelmed in this metagame. Aerodactyl, it could be cool with boots and pressure, or even a choice band set. Not having Pursuit is a little bit of a hindrance on it, truth be told, but it's still a strong, fast option. It can even function as a suicide lead in hyper-offensive teams, setting up stealth rocks and getting off some damage or forcing a taunt so that the opponent cannot defog or set up their own hazards, but all in all, I don't think it's going to be too overwhelming. Araquanid will be cool because it hits like an absolute truck with that liquidation. It has some nice utility moves such as Sticky Web, and it has some nice versatility within the set that it can make use of beyond that, which can go decently far. I don't know if it's going to be overbearing per se, but it'll be very interesting to see nonetheless. Arcanine with boots, teleport is going to be really good as a defensive pivot, and also some nice offensive presence as well with a high attack stat, decent coverage, Flare Blitz, close combat, wild charge, etc., stream speed. Yeah, It will miss out on things like Hidden Power, Grass It, Ride Period, for example, which for some unknown reason fell to NU, which is just crazy, but that's neither here nor there. Art Shops with heavy duty boots and a Defias, it's cool because you get to Defias range less quickly because Stealth Rock don't do damage to you, but this was the Acrobatics option. I guess it does gain dual Wing Beat if I recall correctly, so it's probably going to be pretty strong. I mean, this is like a whole slew of strong Pokemon, and in my eyes, it's not even one of like the top 10 Pokemon Art Shops that's dropping, so it's crazy. Arc Division Art is all kind of underwhelming. Been NU, even PU, I believe, before, so not really much to say there. They're going to be cool on their respective weather teams, I guess. That's really all you could say. I don't think they're going to be anything beyond like a kind of cheesy option on those sort of teams. Articuno and Articuno Galar, both having boots now, will be pretty promising options in NU, I'd say. I think this might be more of where they deserve to belong in terms of tiering, so I'm happy to see both there. Articuno, probably going to be a bit more defensively oriented, whereas Articuno Galar apparently more offensively oriented, so it'll be interesting to see how that does. Wish Articuno Galar got Roost, but unfortunately we do not reside in a world in which that's the case currently. Hopefully, with another update, it might gain access to those moves, so that would be cool. Barbaracle, definitely going to be really potent with Shell Smash, probably in like Orville or more cheesy teams. I definitely would not want to be running into one of these bad boys right now with that really nicely prepared team, so that's something that's worth noting. It's strong, it's fast enough to pull off Shell Smash, and it has decent natural bulk, especially in the physical end, and it has the coverage, so yeah, no, definitely going to be potent. Speaking of potent Pokemon, Beware, one of the best Pokemon of RU traditionally over the last couple generations. It's last generation, unfortunately fell to NU now, which I find crazy. Choice Band Beware, just earlier this generation, was one of the top dogs in RU in my mind, so seeing it now fall here is crazy. It's going to be super durable on the physical side while also hitting really hard. It's got coverage to ghost types like Throat Chop, for example, Shadow Claw, and otherwise the normal plus fighting coverage goes such a long way towards letting it break through just about everything out there. So yeah, it's definitely really interesting to see how that fares. Blastoise, it'll be a good spinner. I don't think it can Slip Turn, unfortunately, which is rough for it. It has Shell Smash, but it's still pretty limited. I can't say Blastoise is going to be really one of the best Pokemon right now, but eventually it'll probably settle in a tier. I think it might end up in PU before it really sees much usage in NU, though, due to the abundance of other Pokemon competing with it. So that's a rough go for it for sure. Braviary, it's back in business in NU after being their last generation. While it does lose Z moves, it gains access to heavy duty boots, so that's going to be great. I imagine it's going to be a pretty popular option in the tier. It's going to be really strong offensively, and also has some defensive options like Sub Roost bulk upsets as well, so it'll be curious to see how that Pokemon ultimately fits into the metagame. Bronzong is also there. It'll be a good rocker. I could already see a whole number of Pokemon that's going to be able to check defensively. Dracology, for example, DNC, X-Blood, I guess, which is crazy that that's NU, and Deities and whatnot. Reuniclus's offensive sets, I suppose. I can't really do much in return. But yeah, Bronzong will fill a similar role to what it used to in RU because a lot of these Pokemon are falling from RU, ironically enough, and it should be one of the better Stealth Rock setters in the tier. It does have to face competition with Xatu bouncing it back, though, so it might have to work around that with like Skill Swap or Trick kind of move, so we'll see how that works for it. Speaking of Pokemon that really should never ever be NU, we have Celebi, a Pokemon just kind of like used to be one of the premier legendaries generations ago, and it still was a Pokemon that hung on to OU usage in Generation 4 and 5 after being one of the most dominant Pokemon in Generation 3 OU for a stint. And even now, it's still probably one of the better Pokemon in Gen 3 OU, but it's crazy seeing it, fall all the way down to NU. I mean, there was a time when I think it briefly fell to RU, but it was still largely a UU Pokemon in prior generations. So seeing it in NU, it baffles me. That's really weird seeing Celebi of all things here. So yeah, that's that. Charizard with heavy duty boots will be pretty good in NU. Torkoal Rose RU though, so at least seeing the on team. So that's a little bit of relief for the gym. It won't be wrecking havoc and one-shotting everything, but it still might be serviceable. Chronojet definitely will give Bronzong some competition among the steel type Stealth Rockers. It can do more damage and probably therefore defeat more defoggers, but defensively it definitely has more shortcomings. It still should be able to check a handful of Pokemon though, and it also has some nice bulk. You can even pull off an Assault Vest set. It has coverage like Power Whip to things like Omastar, Earthquake, Heat Crash, it's a lot of things, so it'll definitely get along well with this metagame. I think it'll fit in just nicely. Cresselia is back in business. It could run bulky Combine sets or utility sets on teams like Trick Room or Dual Screens. Lunar Dance is always helpful. But yeah, Combine sets, and it's going to be able to check a number of Pokemon like Beware, for instance. So it'll be interesting to see how that fares. I can't imagine it'll be too good, but it should be very, viable, to say the least. Next up, we have the two Grass Ghost types, the Decidueye and Delmise, both of them from last generation. And they pretty much fit in your last generation. I can't see much being different here. Boot Spin will be pretty cool for Delmise. It also hits like an absolute truck with Choice Band, or just in general, really. Steelworker is a great ability with Anchor Shot too, so and it gets Poltergeist, so it's cool. All in all, both these Pokemon are going to be pretty strong, I'd imagine. Unfortunately, them being on the slower side might leave them overwhelmed initially, especially with things like Braviary in the tier and Beware Pokemon that can definitely check Ghost types attacks, so that can come in handy for those Pokemon. However, I still see a path to viability for both of them, and while it might take a little longer than you'd like, it'll definitely come in the eventual future, so that'll be cool to see. Diancie is another Stealth Rock option at the 2 gain. While it's not a Steel type like Bronzong and Pernaja, it does present us with a rare Fairy type, which is pretty cool in a metagame that is kind of lacking them at the moment, so that'll be interesting to see. However, we also did face competition for the Fairy type slot in the tier with Sylveon, which also dropped, which we'll get to momentarily. But Sylveon does not have Stealth Rocks in the same slew of utility options that Diancie has, albeit Sylveon has some own niches that it can, of course, bring to the table. So it'll be interesting to see how the uses of both pull out. Regardless, we're seeing some really strong, like, nuke level Pokemon. Next up, we have Dracology, Durant, and X-Cloud. Dracology with adaptability and Draco Meteor, Sludge Wave hits hard against everything not named a Steel type. It's a little prediction reliant for specs, but you could just run heavy duty boots and nuke for the whole tier besides Bronzong, and even you could Shadow Ball that for like an eventual 3 KO. So that's pretty telling as how good it'll be. I imagine it'll be one of the nice pivots. It also has pretty respectable special bulk, so it should be able to check things like Heliolisk or Charizard if it runs into them, which we'll have to wait and see if it does. Durant in NU is really ridiculous. I mean, Hustle Boost attacks it so hard. I don't see any Pokemon that really counters it here. Crunch to Bronzong, you could eventually superpower your way through a Beware. X's and Crest, Iron Head, pretty much everything. Just Iron Head, just can't miss. That's really the extent of it. You could Rock Slide or Thunderfang, Talonflame, and so on and so forth. It's going to be really, really strong. It's just going to be kind of risky. You're living on the edge in a more literal sense when using a Pokemon that's reliant on Hustle. Speaking of Hustle, X-Cloud has managed to lose its Hustle in RU as a Specs Boomburster, so now it's going to be seeing its way into NU, where it'll, kind of do the same thing. It's just going to fire off Specs Boomburst, it's going to Spec Scrappy, and against Steel types, it'll try use Fire Blast or Focus Blast. Against Rock types, it'll try and use Surf, and that'll be that. That's kind of the breaking tactic with it. It's a really simple Pokemon. I can see it on teams with like Sticky Webs, for example, as it's not the fastest or bulkiest Pokemon, and really appreciate that support. But it'll be interesting to see how it fares nonetheless. Next up, we have Flygon. Flygon's just going to be a good Defogger, potential choice Scarfer. I don't think Dragon Dance sets will catch on too much, but it has a nice deal of utility, offensively and defensively, and that goes a long way towards those who enjoy using Flygon. So I definitely would try using Flygon here. It might be the best opportunity for this generation in this NU tier at the moment, as it kind of traditionally falls into like UU or RU over the last couple of generations, and just does an okay but not super phenomenal job. And this might be a chance for it to eventually thrive, so that's pretty cool. Next up, we see Golisopod, which pretty cool option. It gets spikes, it's cool. Boots helps kind of mitigate some Stealth Rock vulnerability, and also all emergency exit can be annoying and also be super helpful if you play it well, and that's cool. It hits kind of hard with knockoff. I think it gained access to close combat, not to mention it has access to other priorities besides first impression in Aqua Jet, and Liquidation is the other water move too. So little form moveset syndrome perhaps, but it hits a lot of things in the tier. It's pretty hard, and it has extra spikes, all while being a decently defensive Pokemon too, so it definitely can bypass despite it being kind of slow and having some weaknesses to types like Flying or Electric, for example, that are pretty common type. It can do pretty well, I'd say. Next up, we have Golurk, which it's pretty cool to see it back. It gains extra Poltergeist, which is cool. They could either run an Iron Fist set with punches or a No Guard set with Dynamic Punch and Stone Edge, whatever it might be. It's going to hit pretty hard, set up rocks, and immune to Electric. Of course, it doesn't have the most overwhelming defensive footprint. In fact, it's arguably underwhelming defensively, but it still can do the trick, definitely giving, the Steel types and Diancie another competitor among Stealth Rockers that are viable in the metagame. Next up, we have Goodra, which is going to hit quite hard, I'd say. It's really the best way to put it. It's going to hit hard. It's also going to tank a lot of special hits. I mean, with the Softball, somebody calcs, it's crazy. I mean, you could use a Charizard and Zone with like +1 special attack and not 2 kill that thing, for Christ's sake, which is just ridiculous. All in all, Goodra is going to be great. I can't imagine it being bad in metagame. It might take a while to kind of surface, especially if we're seeing a ton of Sylveon and Diancie, but it'll still do well. Don't sleep on it, and it'll find a place in the tier for sure if it hasn't immediately. So yeah, Heliolisk is going to be a good pivot. Previously, it was kind of controversial in NU NFL many years ago, when I was more younger, newer player, but nowadays it'll be interesting to see how that does. I think it'll be solid. Heavy duty boost shifting set's cool. Has nice coverage options, be it like Surf or Grass Knot or Focus Blast to complement the Hyper Voice and Thunderbolt and or Volt Switch coverages. I also can run Weather Ball and Rain, which is cool too, I suppose. And or on other weather teams, and it'll be interesting to see how that does. They ever really relied on Hidden Power, which is cool for an electric type, and especially cool this generation. So yeah, Heracross will be an interesting option. Flame Orb sets are absolutely going to ravage the tier. I never really thought I'd see a world where Heracross was was NU, because it never really struck me as an NU Pokemon. It's always been OU or eventually UU. And yeah, so this is a bit of a new twist for it, especially when it gains spikes. But there's a lot of competitive fighting types. I mean, as you see, even Blaziken with Speed Boost is dropping to UU. So I guess it's not the single most surprising thing that happened to a fighting type here, especially given kind of the mass nature of these drops. And I imagine it'll eventually surface back in RU and C usage there, and perhaps even rise back up. But we shall have to wait and see. There's also the Hitmonlee. I don't really have much to say on the Pokemon. It's pretty strong, but it's also super frail physically. It'll probably be able to like climb kills against if it clicks the right move against the right teams, but that's about all there is to it. I'm not super hyped about it. Nor am I hyped about the Indeedee. Psychic Drain team is just going to be annoying. They can be like offense that cock blocks other offense, if that makes sense, due to the lack of priority being able to use, and Expanding Force being so strong despite, things even resisting it, taking a lot of damage. So yeah, it's probably going to kind of mandate usage of things like the Steel types, Capernaja, and Bronzong, which is interesting. Dark types will be good. But I can't imagine they're really going to be, both of them are going to be broken. I think we might be fine with Indeedee F, which we previously were as well. But I think Indeedee regular might end up being broken, or at least settling into being broken. It's really strong with the Expanding Force in the Psychic Drain. So yeah, you got to watch out for that for sure. It's also a little quicker, so that helps. Every little bit of speed can definitely help. Kabutops is cool. Rapid Spin being improved helps it a lot. It also has a nice offensive improvement, Stone Edge and Aqua Jet with Swords Dance and Rapid Spin. Probably going to be a pretty solid set, all things considered. Doesn't serve a ton of defensive roles, but Aqua Jet could definitely force revenge kill on a lot of the faster water vulnerable Pokemon such as Charizard, Arcanine, Aerodactyl, and so on and so forth. So you'll be curious to see how that does in the metagame. The Noon is going to be a nice Belly Drum Sweeper if you're not facing Psychic Drain teams when using Hyper Offense, but it is support line. It's going to need that for return. It really appreciates things like Memento or screens being up, and supports is quite frail. And it's really a one-trick pony, or whatever the hell you want to call a Noon, a dog or a rat or I don't know, ferret. What the hell is a Noon? Well, whatever it is, it only has one trick. It's always going to be Belly Drum. So yeah, that's all there is to it. Like it or not, I don't really love it because it's kind of cheesy, but it's fine. This is the row of absolute killers that we never thought we would see in NU that I outlined before. We get Lucario, which just it can do everything offensively. It's very fragile, but it's a super versatile Pokemon offensively, which is going to go a long way towards proving it as a consistently viable option in the NU metagame in my eyes. Machamp with Dynamic Punch and No Guard and all the coverage in the world, Heavy Slam for Sylveon and Yancey. You got Earthquake for poison types like Dracology. Knockoff for Psychic and Ghost types like Cresselia and Delmise, Decidueye, Celebi, etc. Bullet Punch is priority potentially even as well. It's going to be really good. We'll just see. I think on a Assault Vest set or even just a Choice Band set, this kind of standard set should be solid. I wonder if we'll see the Guts set. I think that Heracross might be a little bit better at doing that, so it might take a while. And also both of them face stiff competition from Beware. And yeah, fighting types are just going to be super strong in this metagame, especially when you mentioned the aforementioned Lucario as well in the conversation, which of course forms as a great fighter in the metagame too. And if that's not enough fighting types, then we also have Mienshao. I know I skipped Mantine, by the way, I'll get back to it, but Mienshao is going to be absolutely amazing at pivoting it out with Regenerator, U-turn. Close combat also is more reliable than high jump kick, meaning you don't have to be completely scared of clicking a move that's a stab move against ghost types, which is cool. Knockoff is great, and yeah, no, be it with a boot set or kind of like a Reckless Choice Band set or a Choice Scarf Pivot set, it's going to be solid. They can make use of multiple abilities. Those all Regenerate is far and away the best one, probably, especially on non-Choice Band variants, and it's got a nice array of moves that it could use to dispatch of many Pokemon in the metagame. So despite being fragile, it's fast and it's coverage, so it'll catch on in the metagame, much like some of the other fighting types I'd have to imagine. Speaking of fighting types, there's also Pangoro and Passimian we'll get to in a minute. But in the meantime, there's Mantine, Milotic, two bulky waters, which it's cool to see that. Mantine can serve as a defogger, whereas Milotic can be a pivot with flip turn, so they both have kind of defined niches. It's cool that Mantine has a ton of special bulk and also the flying type thing, so kind of a nice combination of things you can potentially keep in check there. Whereas for Milotic, it can absorb status, especially burns, paralysis, so on and so forth. And also, it even has nice, alarmingly high special attacks. It can even do some damage there too. I think it'll be a pretty cool option as a pivot. Might fit on more bulky offensive and balanced teams, which hopefully we'll be able to see in the metagame if it ever settles, so that'll be cool. Next up, there's Noivern, which will undoubtedly be really a popular Pokemon. Sort of strong, but also very fast and useful dragon type with a ton of utility, U-turn, heavy duty boots, defog, roost, Hurricane or Draco, flamethrower, you name it, it can do it. Noivern was the bread and butter of UU once. I can imagine it being the bread and butter of NU nowadays. I cannot say whether it falls one more tier to PU unless the tier is completely crazy and I am way off base. So hopefully I'm not way off base because that would be awkward. Speaking of things that shouldn't be NU, we are looking at Obsidian. Okay, that's really all I have to say on Obstagoon. We're now looking at Almost Star. Almost Star is going to be pretty cool. Except Stealth Rocks and Spikes and whatnot. Shell Smash sets would be pretty cool. It'll be a staple on Rain teams, I have to imagine. Manual Rain. Be cool to see how they do. It's kind of sneaky, physically bulky, and strong on the special side, but kind of know what it's going to do, so that's interesting. I'll see how it does, I guess. I'm not really super high on it. I feel it's going to be hard to fade. It doesn't really serve much defensive purpose. But hey, I mean, stranger things have happened, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't really know. I'm kind of back and forth, as you guys can probably tell by my hesitance here. I think Almost Star will definitely be viable. I don't know if it'll be amazing, basically. Yeah, okay. One way to put it. Next up, we have the Sandcastle Palo Sand, which is going to be another solid stealth rocker. It gives Golurk some direct competition. More of a bulky Pokemon, but it definitely has less of an offensive footprint. Same typing, though, so it's cool. Weird ability that makes it sort of takes water type attacks. It takes a million defense, so that's cool for it, I guess, but that's really all there is to it. Stealth Rock, Shore Up, Shadow Ball, there's power type sets can run Toxic potentially, so I guess that's cool. I'm not really super high in it, but I mean, I could see it being good. I mean, with Colbert Berry, I can probably check Machamp a little bit. Should do well against Beware. Lucario, it has a lot of coverage, so it's going to be more careful there. But yeah, it'll do well. It'll do well against fighting types. I think it'll probably be one of the more common Stealth Rock setters with Colbert Berry and max defense. I think that'll be enough to check a lot of fighters. I think that goes a long way. Pangoro is kind of like the last-ditch fighter here. You're not going to see it used much in a metagame with Hitmonlee and Beware, more importantly, Lucario, Machamp, Passimian, Mienshao. It's going to be hard to justify. I think it'll probably fall to PU and get banned there, so that'll be fun. Save this prediction in a month from today or a month from tomorrow when Pangoro gets introduced to PU, and then within a week from then it gets banned, so that'll be funny. I can say I told you so, I guess. But in regards to that, Passimian, really strong Pokemon in NU, but kind of outclassed, kind of struggles to get a new show from Mienshao. It'll be interesting to see how Passimian gets used. If it drops to PU, I'll be kind of sad. It's the king of NU last generation, but at the same time, I think it'll find a way to get used. It's hard because there's so much competition that I think it'll probably end up falling to PU initially, and then eventually once things get banned, and then naturally rise to RU that are good enough in RU, which I'm imagining one or two of the fighters probably are. The Dandelion Stabilizer is a really good option in NU, I bet. So just give it time. Poltergeist is a really cheesy Pokemon. If you have something that can check, Ghost plus Psychic coverage, I guess Giga Drain in the back as well, then you'll be fine against it. But if you let it get a free turn, otherwise you have the priority to check it, or some of the break sash, and you're going to struggle a lot against it because the Shell Smash set is not forgiving whatsoever. But again, there are some games that can be completely useless, so you got to be careful nonetheless. Things I can check Ghost types, although not really living a +2 star power. What did Porygon see? Porygon is an absolute nuke with a choice specs, adaptability boosted, Tri Attack off of Stab as well. It just hits like a complete truck. I would not want to get in the way of this. Even steel types like Capernaja wouldn't be able to tag it unless they're max special defense or Assault Vest particularly well anyway. So yeah, that could potentially get 3 KO'd or even 2-shotted, so gotta be careful there. What else? There's also... Sorry, I lost my place. There's also Raichu, which I guess I don't remember what tier print creation is, but it could be good on electric train teams. It has speed as well, but I don't think I really love it. If it gets Shattered Psychic, it might be cool on Psychic Train teams, I guess, but I don't really recall if it does. I think Rising Voltage is like one of those moves it gets, so... Yeah, Regigigas is more of a meme Pokemon, unfortunately. It's not the best option, but I guess it's not the worst either, as we're just going down a little bit so you can see the other drops. We're almost done with NU, and it's crazy, because I feel like I've been on this single tier for 15-20 minutes alone, but I mean, hey, that's what you get when these massive tier changes happen. But yeah, Ryu, Nicholas, and NU, I mean... What the hell happened? It was the king of OU Generation 5. I mean, even within the last year, it's been one of the better Pokemon in that generation. And even in Gen 6, 7, and earlier this generation, it's been pretty good in OU at times. And you know what? It's fell to UU or RU over the last generation or two, but still with Magic Guard and Regenerator, two amazing abilities, it's a super good option. It's going to be able to check things defensively while also being great offensively. Trick Room sets are going to absolutely ravage the tier. I'm telling you that already. Regenerator Self-S sets will be good. Combine sets are actually probably going to get overwhelmed by the abundance of offensive options in the metagame right now. I mean, you see things like Durant, Heracross, Obstagoon, Pangoro, etc. all potentially make it suffer. So I don't think we'll see more defensive variants of Reuniclus, but rather the Pivot, Regenerator, Self-S type of sets, or just straight up Trick Room on offensive teams, which if it hits Focus Blast, it's going to be devastating to deal with. So yeah, speaking of devastating to deal with, Rhyperior has fallen from being a top 10 to 15 OU Pokemon to being in the depths of NU, which is really unfortunate as it's never seen this low of a low before. It's been an RU option a couple of times, but that's about it. And it's really crazy and kind of scary to see that, but I imagine we'll see better days ahead. It'll be interesting to see how it does here. It's going to be really strong, but there are also a lot of faster, otherwise strong Pokemon too, so given that there are already kind of a couple natural checks to it, things like Bronzong, things like Roselia, things like Melodic. It'll be interesting to see if it'll fare well, or if it potentially even falls to Pew, which I would be like so shocked by. So yeah, let's wait and see. Rabambi's there for sticky webs and being annoying. I don't like Rabambi, so screw Rabambi. Roserade is also a nice option. It gives spikes. It's a really strong special attacker. Even without hidden power fire, it can do pretty well. It has some options like Stun Spore and Sleep Powder and Toxic Spikes as well, which can go a long way for it too. Rotom-Mow, another offensive grass type. Instead of having the utility, it has the opposite of Volt Switch and a more natural bulk, which comes in handy for it. It'll definitely kind of face some stiff competition for other grass types like the aforementioned Roserade, and I guess on Sun Team Shiftry or on normal team Celebi, and not to mention there are also the two Ghost grass types. Sorry, I don't know if I said ghost types before. I meant grass types in Delmise and Decidueye. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Overall, grass types are gonna be pretty solid in this metagame, I'd have to say. There's Scrafty, which will be a potential Dragon Dance setup sweeper. I don't think bulk up sets are gonna do very well. And honestly, even Dragon Dance sets are kind of slow for this metagame, which gained a ton of fast Pokemon. So it'll be interesting to see how that fares, but I imagine it'll be pretty viable. It's a Scrafty after all. It's got a ton of bulk and decent coverage, great dual stab. So yeah, especially with only being a couple fairies dropping and one of them taking neutral damage from fighting moves, that should be a little more friendly than you'd imagine. Actually, I lied. Slurpuff's a fairy type too, so it's 3. Speaking of Slurpuff, we'll get to that in a minute, but right now we're going to be discussing another S Pokemon in Scyther, because literally the whole letter S fell. I mean, like, look, that's basically an entire row and a half of S Pokemon, which is crazy, but neither here nor there. Scyther, with Boots and Dual Wing Beat, it was pretty good in NU before. It'll be pretty good in NU again. I think that's really all there is to it. It's fast, but not the most durable Pokemon. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that does. Sharpedo, one time broken in RU, now falling to NU. I think it's going to be really great. It resists a lot of priority moves, which is cool for it, and it hits super hard against extra close combat too. Speed boost is going to be great in what seems like a kind of hellish offensive metagames, and it'll be really curious to see. I'll be really curious to see how that fares. I think it'll be one of the better Pokemon for sure. Shiftry, some teams are really not great with a Torkoal, but I think it might have some niche here or there. I don't love it right now, unfortunately. Might end up falling to PU and then eventually rising up. We'll have to wait and see. Sigilif, definitely some competition. Reuniclus, I think it'll be a little worse than it, but it can at least run more fast and directly offensive sets, which is cool, especially with the flying type and air slash. So that'll be interesting to see that competition there. They function both similar and different ways. Similar as in they both have magic guard, different as in they kind of lure and check and counter different things, while also offensively beating down different things due to the coverage differences. So yeah, the competition between Reuniclus and Sigilif, I imagine I'd favor Reuniclus a little bit, but I think both will be pretty viable. I don't know what Sylvie type it is, but I don't really care. Looking at all these badasses falling to NU, we really don't have time to talk about Sylvie, because we're talking about Surfetch just spamming the crap out of Scrappy, Choice Band in close combat with first impression as something that hits psychic and whatnot types and knockoff at close types and so on. So nothing's checking that. You can spend your entire life trying to find out check to it, but I'm telling you, nothing actually checks it. So you might as well just move on to the next Pokemon, Slowbro Galar. It'll be pretty cool with the quick claw set, I guess. That'll be funny. Assault Vest also might be a good pivot, checking a number of things, or Item List for the Poltergeisters. Yeah, I think there'll be definitely some nice viability for it. It won't be like the best Pokemon like it once was in RU, but it'll still be pretty good. And it's kind of funny to say oh, it was once the best Pokemon in RU, and now it's falling to NU and won't even be one of the best. So that's funny. That's kind of where we are right now. Slurpuff is just a cheese ball. I mean, literally, it's just a cheese ball with a cherry on top, in kind of a sense. And I don't like it. The Belly Drum sets, Sticky Web sets, whatever. They just kind of do or die. And normally they die. Sometimes they do though, so you got to be prepared for it. It's just really annoying. I don't love it. It's gonna end up being pretty good though, I'd have to say. You'll get opportunities to set up, especially with support, and from there it'll be lights out. So yeah, Starmie is really cool. Funny fact, Starmie fell to NU in Generation 6 on Pokemon Online when the server started seeing less and less people because Pokemon Showdown got more and more popular. You're like, whoa, Starmie and NU, this will never happen. That's the craziest thing. Well, look, we've hit the day of reality. It's actually happened. Starmie is in fact an NU Pokemon now, NU viable, NU usable. So that's funny. With Rapid Spin being better and there being no Pursuit, I think it'll be really good. It'll give stiff competition to things like Starmie and Mantine, especially because it also gets access to Flip Turn, I believe. So yeah, it could be a good defensive Pokemon, good offensive Pokemon, really fast, and spin is important as well. So it goes a long way. I definitely see Starmie being pretty solid. Sylveon in NU is also really crazy. It's been one of the best Pokemon in UU for a long time now, and now it's in NU. Didn't even bother taking a sip in RU. So I mean, geez. Yeah, it's gonna hit super hard with Hyper Voice, and Wish sets are gonna be good as well. It's gonna be one of the better Pokemon, I have to imagine. Talonflame, I actually don't think it's gonna be very great. It'll see usage. It's gonna be fast with boots and pivoting sets, and it'll be more annoying than it is super threatening, especially with the abundance of Diancie, Milotic, Rhyperior that we're bound to see. So yeah, but it'll still be pretty viable. It just might have to pick its spots, and that'll be interesting to see. how it does. I don't think it's going to be like broken in NU though, which is kind of funny because it used to be a pretty good OU Pokemon Gen 6. Yeah, Toxtricity in NU just like what? It was like one of the like more trendy options in OU just months ago during OLT. Now all of a sudden it's falling to the depths of NU. It's just all over again with like every other Pokemon I feel this way. So it's just crazy. Sarina, it's actually going to be pretty good as a spinner. Nice offensive presence. Yeah, I quite like it. Umbreon, another Wish Passer to give Sylveon some competition. Function on more bulky or balanced teams, which could be cool. It should check a number of Pokemon as well. For example, it should do pretty well against, say, Slowbro, Galars, like Belladrum, Antics if it doesn't get Quick Clawed, because Foul Play can just one-shot it. Or, say, Poltergeist, it could absolutely counter Deities if it doesn't get Tricks. So that's pretty handy. Uxie will be a good Stealth Rock setter, probably a nice pivot. A lot of utility moves can use Rain Dancer, Sunny Day, use Screens, Memento, and so on and so forth. So a ton it can do there. You can even use Trick Sets. Vanillux gives us another Orville option, which is actually pretty good. Probably better than Bombasno. Faster, stronger. Does lose to Grass typing, but that's fine. Also just a strong attacker in general, even with Capernaja and Bronzong in the metagame. If it doesn't encounter one of those, it's going to be really hard to switch into with a combination of Blizzard and Freeze Dry, so that's pretty cool. Next up, we have Vikavolt, which nice boost attacker. It was actually previously banned from NU due to how strong was a special attacker. Also gains extra agility, sticky web, so despite being slow, you can kind of mitigate that a little bit. And it'll be interesting to see how it fares. I think it'll be pretty damn good, but probably more balanced this time around. Vileplume with Strength Sap and NU. We're back. It was dumb last generation, but we're back. And I think it'll be a bit more kept in check due to the abundance of really strong offensive options this time around, but I'll be curious to see how it does. There's also Virizion, which it's had a stint in NU before. I'm not super shocked. But it'll be pretty strong. It's got a nice dual stab and coverage. It's kind of weak off the bat, but has Swords Dance and Calm Mind, so I'll go a long way for it. And also Zoroark, which is going to be a sneaky surprise for this year, quite literally. I don't really have any way to envision what it will like constantly disguise itself as. I imagine that fighting types might make a good thing for it to pair with a Psychic type, so I'll be curious to see how it does. I think it'll be pretty good in metagame, though. Like, Mordor Fong from NU to PUBL, I thought it was actually really good in NU, so it's unfortunate. But, I mean, it wouldn't matter. It'd get buried by the abundance of Pokemon that are dropping while NU is completely defacing. So, again, all these Pokemon from NU to PU, they're good for PU. Like, seeing Clefairy there, that's totally new. I mean, oh my god, all the Ghost types. Frostlass and Haunter, too. So, Ghost types are going to suddenly take PU by storm. It's going to be crazy to see how they react to it. I imagine Miltank will be one of them. Regice might be another one to check special Ghost types. So, it's good that those Pokemon drop. But Turtonator is going to break the crap out of NU. Cradily and Stunfisk Galar can be good Stealth Rock options. But, yeah, no, the real big stories here are the Ghost types falling. Clefairy is going to be super strong. Same with Haunter. The process will be great in a number of roles, so that'll be interesting to see. But Cradily, Stunfisk, Galar, both set up Stealth Rocks. Stunfisk, Galar, especially being pretty damn good in that role as a Steel type. Miltank also can do that, but also has like a wider array of options. It's actually surprisingly fast too. And Turtonator is going to be an amazing breaker with Shell Smash, just sweep through teams. And then there's Regice, the Assault Vest one. We love Assault Vest Regice. In fact, you're still watching at this point. Make sure to comment something about Regice in the comments below. I want to hear from y'all. I know it's a fan favorite, so that's always fun. But yeah, as for ZU and Tiered, I don't really know much about. Getting the table, Avalugg, so it's a physically defensive ball. I don't know which Gorgeous form, but also getting Licky, which is good for wish passing sets. Ninetales, nice Flash Fire, Heavy Duty Boots, Nasty Platter, and Pinsir, which is a super threatening Pokemon offensively with Swords Dance, Mold Breaker kind of sets. And you don't want to choice Scarf or Boots or whatever you want to do on it. Yeah, it's pretty solid. But all in all, a lot of drops. The big story here is what happened to NU. It's absolutely crazy. I want to hear what you guys have to say. What Pokemon you think are going to absolutely break through NU? Which Pokemon you think are going to settle in well? And what do you think about other tiers as well? Definitely let me know that. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like it. And if you guys want to see more, a lot more is coming soon in the next coming days. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. In addition, if you guys want to keep up, check out the Twitter, check out the Discord, and have a great day. All right, guys. Peace out. Bye-bye.